And for $2,000, Mr. Taylor, I guarantee every country and western listener in Porterville will be using propane in all their cars and homes.
I think our little newspaper here is exactly where you should spend your advertising dollars. After all, everybody in town reads the newspapers. Now, let's see what size of an ad you can afford.
Look, you may think television is expensive, but it's actually quite affordable. I can put your 30-second commercial in the Late 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 Show for the price of a radio spot.
Confusing, isn't it? It seems like every media salesperson in the world has the perfect solution for your advertising needs. And if you just listen to these people, you might think that all there is to advertising is buying space or time. They want you to buy their advertising first and worry about your results later. Wait a second. Don't sign so soon. That's making advertising work for them. Wouldn't you rather make advertising work for you?
What's all this talk about advertising anyway? I don't even know why I should advertise. My business is doing okay.
Why advertise? That's easy. You advertise to maintain the market share position you have now, as well as increase business and make a greater profit. In 1986, businesses throughout America wanted to improve their bottom line. And as a result, they spent $57.1 billion on national advertising and another $44.8 billion on local advertising, which is the type of advertising you're most likely to be involved in. That's $101.9 billion spent in 1 year's time. No doubt about it, American business considers advertising to be an essential expense for growth. And every year, the figure gets larger at a rate of 7 to 8%.
Well, why does it keep increasing? Companies don't need to advertise all the time, do they?
One of the main reasons advertising has a substantial growth rate is because name recognition needs to be continually supported. Businesses that understand the importance of name recognition know that their customers may remember them today, but might forget about them in a month, a season, or a year from now. For example, everybody knows Coca-Cola. It's the most famous trademark in the world. Nevertheless, Coke is conscious of name recognition. Last year, they spent over $100 million to support it. Advertising is also education, plain and simple. It tells people things they didn't know before and how and where to get them.
You could run a propane gas heater for about half the cost of electric heaters. For about half the cost?
I didn't know
A water
that.
heating specialist from Moulton showed me how.
Advertising propane and other related products and services is similar to advertising other things. It takes good planning, strategy, and execution. To illustrate how other propane dealers manage their advertising, we formed a blue ribbon discussion panel made up of propane company representatives who have successful advertising campaigns.
Advertising a company, NLPGA's business, should be directed at creating an image of that company and also educating the public at all times.
Absolutely.
In a continuous fashion.
And as you said, you're sealing your own fate. Our competitors are not afraid to advertise. In fact, it seems like they're stepping it up more and more. And if we let the public be educated by them, we don't have a chance.
Truly, and Electric Alabama has begun to advertise tremendously. And we're seeing a customer erosion in certain areas because of it. And it's not because their product's any better, it's because they're doing a better job of telling the people about it.
Well, there are many propane companies in our market area. And if you do not keep your name out in front of the public, particularly the buying public, you may become lost. So I think it's very mandatory that you keep your name in the public through either the media, radio, newspaper, television, direct mail.
Somewhere in the Midwest, Coca-Cola decided to remove their advertising from a town in which they had something like 85% of the soft drink business. And they did that for 1 month. At the end of that 1 month, they did another survey, and the number was significantly less than that, and they had commanded that market for many, many years. You can't abandon advertising.
If you want to increase the demand for your product in the marketplace, you have to increase your advertising.
That's exactly right.
Traditionally, again, I'm speaking from a smaller perspective than you are in the larger cities, but you think everyone stays in the same area in which they were born. Well, mother and dad have it, so then the son and daughter have it, or however it works. And now, even in the smaller towns, people are moving away. They're going off to college, they're getting jobs. So the word of mouth, or the, gee, everybody knows you, you've been in business for several years, that doesn't work anymore because the continuity is not there. So you've got a whole branch of people moving in or moving out, and you've got to get your name out in front of those people.
There are a lot of important reasons why a propane company should advertise. But where do you begin? How much money should you spend?
We use a figure of 1.5% of our total gas, appliance, and equipment sales as our budget allowance. I think a lot of LP dealers use only their sales of appliances and heating equipment for their advertising, feeling that is what they're advertising mostly is appliances and heating equipment. And they may use a higher figure of approximately 5%. But I think they're misguided there because that segment usually represents a very small portion of their total sales.
Total business.
Our budget is about 1% of sales. And if you're talking about how you set up the budget, we started from the very beginning because we had basically no advertising at all. So when we took a look at what we wanted to do, what we wanted to advertise, we just started at the bottom. We said, okay, we'd like to run some spots on radio, we'd like to run some spots in the newspaper. We found out how much that would cost us and looked at the different areas we wanted and then said, okay, it's going to be this much. We'd like to do this twice in the spring and once in the fall and maybe for our tent sale. And then we had some idea of how much it was going to cost us.
I believe very strongly in budgeting. Our company is probably a mid-sized company, and we budget every aspect of it. Advertising is a very important part of it. We know certain areas of the year, certain times of the year, and we do certain things at those times of the year.
Setting a budget and sticking to it is important. That's because advertising is the easiest category in the world to say,
we really can't afford it right now.
We're cutting back on our advertising this year and saving money.
Well, if you were to spend money in an uncontrolled fashion, you may be spending more money than you so desire without realizing it because you did it spontaneously. But also, you're not spending it wisely because you did not plan ahead for the budget monies, and consequently, you didn't plan ahead for the programs you're going to use, which is important because you need to have some continuity in your advertising, a planned program.
For example, if a company's annual gross revenue was $1,750,000, and the goal was to increase business by 10% next year, the expected gross for next year would be $1,925,000. An advertising budget based upon 1% of gross would be $19,250 for the upcoming year, which becomes an integral part of the operating budget.
You sometimes have to spend money to make money. You can't look at it in terms, I'm going to spend this much money and 4 people are going to walk through the door and therefore this ad only cost me X, Y, Z. It's a cumulative effect. You can't just run one ad and say, see there, it didn't work. It's really an intangible thing. You want your name out in front of the people. You want to be there when they're ready to buy. And the first time you run an ad, they may not be ready. But when they are, you want to make sure that you're there and you've been there. And if you don't advertise, that's not possible.
But setting a budget isn't the only thing you need to do before buying advertising. You also have to know your audience. In other words, who is this person who is most likely to buy your product or service? Why will this person buy it? And when and how is the best way to reach this person?
We did a survey in the spring and summer a number of years ago relative to water heaters. And our sales personnel and our office folks were just asked to call our customer, really, and ask them what kind of water heater they had. Was it an electric water heater or was it a gas water heater? And we were alarmed by the numbers of electric water heaters that our customers had. We then developed a program to sell water heaters, and we're very happy with the result. We saw a market that we dominated a number of years ago slip away to electricity. And it was so alarming that not only my company but others ran surveys. And we found out things there too that alarmed us, such as undependable and didn't know about propane, period. We're not aware of its versatility and its ability to move. And if this customer goes from this county to the next, if he had propane, he was just out of luck. They didn't understand propane, and so we spent quite a bit of time trying to educate them. We're a long way from completing that education, I can assure you, but that's the only two surveys we've really run, and both of them scared us to the point we did something about it.
A little research can pinpoint your advertising and produce greater results. It can also target an area you might have been taking for granted.
It's hard to look at it in terms of where are you deficient? Where have you gone wrong? It's funny, this must have been the year for water heaters, because we started to pull information out of our computer. We found out how many furnaces we had out and how many tanks already out there and how many of those people, and we'd sold some of these furnaces too, and how many of them still had electric water heaters. And we were appalled. It was frightening. So we found out we were most sincerely deficient in getting that extra purchase. So we targeted our customers we wanted to do it also in the summer months when we've got the time. We want to keep our people busy. We identified which ones had the electric water heaters. We did a specific target mailing to them, and then we followed up for new customers 3 or 4 weeks later in the newspaper.
In order to make advertising work for you, it's important to 1, plan a budget, 2, know your audience, and 3, select your media. Then you begin to plan just what kind of advertising you want to do.
There are two types of ads. One is the one which you will use as an educational or institutional type ad, where you're continuously building your name in the marketplace. And that is an ad that is not designed to sell then and there. It's not a hard-hitting ad. Then within that yearly advertising program that you have, as I mentioned earlier, you may have a 30 or a 60-day or 90-day period where you're selling a specific product. And in that area is where you create the sell ad, the price ad, if I may.
I think 85% of ours would be selling ads, and the other 15% company, institutional, but the rest of them are cut your heating bills, get more hot water for less. We want to sell the propane and the appliances that go with them.
I think we would probably be about half and half with ours, with target areas of the year, specific sale price items that are important. The other part would be awareness of propane. What propane will do, its versatility. It will cook your food, it will dry your clothes, it will heat your water, etc.
Educational advertising builds product knowledge and company image. Selling type advertising focuses on specific items, and it asks the reader, viewer, or listener to buy, which often makes the results easier to see. Planning the types of advertising you want to do is a significant step in the right direction. But today, it's more difficult to advertise with success than during any other time in history. At the same time you're trying to reach your audience, thousands of other products and services are trying to do the exact same thing. Think about it. How many advertisements have you been exposed to today? And which ones do you remember?
I think one of the things we try and do, working with the local newspaper, is make our ads look a little different. And we don't turn them upside down or anything like that, but we try with the typeface and the illustrations that we use, we strive to make it a little different than what the other ones are. We always have a tagline, your full-service propane distributor, to differentiate us from those that just want to take the gas out and don't want to sell the appliances or give the service. And we always have the logo in there, always have the phone number and the locations of the plants. And from then on, the way we arrange the text or the illustration, I guess what we try and keep in the back of our mind is to catch their eye.
An advocate of keep things simple, but by the same token, within an ad, whether it be in print media or be in television or radio, I think it's necessary to have something different about that ad, something that catches the consumer's eye, so that he remembers either your company, your product, or something about it that will draw him to you. I am not a very creative person, but we have people working for us who are creative. And I go to them first off and I tell them, here's an idea. We want to sell a gas range in the month of May. Now create something for me that will catch the consumer's eye.
Creativity is a vital component that you always have to keep in mind when you advertise. Get your audience's attention and then repeat it often so they remember your message.
Well, I think that one thing that we should keep in mind when we advertise, whether it is TV, radio, print, is repetition. Now, repetition, you may say, I'm tired of hearing that ring around the collar commercial. But how many times in your lifetime have you heard it?
You remember that you were tired of hearing it.
That's right. And I think repetition of a theme, repetition of a product, repetition of the advantages of LP gas is something that is necessary when you create and design your programs.
Repetition, or frequency as it's called in the advertising world, is a crucial factor in your advertising success. Both creativity and repetition are proven advertising principles that increase a campaign's results.
That's a lot to remember. I don't think I can do it all myself.
Many businesses have found that using an advertising agency is an easier and more consistent way of applying tested advertising principles.
We have an advertising agency. As we expanded to a couple other plants, it became more and more difficult to get to each individual newspaper or each individual radio station that you wanted to deal with. So we have an advertising agency that actually produces our ads and does the placement for us.
Again, in the Northeast, where we're dealing with 29 plants and some 269 distributorships, it is necessary that I work with an advertising agency because I just couldn't come up with the creative time to do what I need to do for all of them.
We chose ours just because we did not have the creative hours in the day to budget to thinking up the ad, actually figuring out how we were going to design it. And in smaller markets, the local newspapers and things tend to get a typeface in their ads and they all start to look the same. And we said, if we're going to put the time and effort and money in this, we want to be distinctive.
Using an advertising agency or freelance creative talent can help you stand out from the rest of the pack, but often there's a fear that they're too expensive.
I think a lot of LP dealers feel that they have to hire an ad agency on a retaining fee, which is one of the ways you do work with an ad agency. However, you can go into an ad agency and work on a job or individual contract basis for a specific assignment that you want done, so that you're not tied down to a monthly retainer.
Just interview them. They make you a proposal. For the most part, it's due.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't cost you for them to come in and tell you what they can do, and then it's your own responsibility, as you said, to tell them what you want them to do for you.
They're selling you a service, and so you should actually have them come in and try to sell you that service.
That's good advice, but there are other reasons why using an advertising agency is a smart thing to do, especially when you do and your competition doesn't.
What do you find with your LP gas competitors who do not use an agency? Are you there more consistently in the marketplace with advertising than they are?
Much more. Much more. They advertise when they have a special kind of thing, but there's no one that's on a continuous basis like we are.
hit and miss or the running shot type of advertising, which doesn't lead to continuity in your programs, really.
Right. And when the ads are done, they're set locally and they have no distinctive look about them, which is what we've got.
Listening to you two, I feel as though I probably need to begin investigation into ad agencies.
How to hire an agency and a lot more helpful advertising-related tips and ideas are in the new NLPGA advertising manual, exclusively created for NLPGA members. There are sections on how to plan and budget your advertising and how to put together your own research information.
Some of the advantages, the disadvantages, what to look for, it just helps you so much. Maybe to keep you from making some mistakes that other people have made, or to do some good things that the ideas that other people have done. And it's just a great idea. I think it'll be a big help to a lot of people. Even if you've already have one in place, you can use it, or especially if you have not done a lot of advertising in the past. I think it'll be very, very helpful.
Also, every advertising medium's advantages and limitations are explained in separate, easy-to-read chapters. You'll learn the best way to buy and use newspaper, radio, television, outdoor, and direct mail advertising. And a lot more are even radio scripts and pages of line art and newspaper ads that you can either use directly or adapt to your individual needs.
There's all kind of times to use it. You don't have to use it all at the beginning.
Yeah. Like
True. I think that, again, it is a manual. It shouldn't be read once and used once. It should be put on the shelf in an area where you can review it depending on the type of programs that you're thinking about at a specific time of the year or when you're planning your total yearly budget. I think it's going to be an excellent guideline.
It's very well put together. It covers all the areas of business and advertising that we're involved in. And if a dealer will just spend the time, commit the time, and commit the dollars to understand it, it will be a very good beginning point for, and really an ongoing, much like a manual for the future. I'm very convinced that it's an outstanding thing that's being given to our industry.
Co-op users will appreciate the section dedicated to money-saving cooperative advertising, too.
If you don't take advantage of the monies that they have to offer, which is probably built into the price of the appliances or heating equipment you're buying, you're wasting a source of revenue
right.
To be used for advertising.
You know, there seems to be a mystique about it, too, that it's very difficult to do, that it's hard to work with a manufacturer to get co-op advertising. Most of these manufacturers have people assigned to that responsibility, and they are very willing. They want you to advertise their product.
Sure.
And they really will encourage you and do whatever they can to help you. We've never had any problem from that aspect.
Besides great tips about stretching your ad dollars and getting the most out of co-op, it features the newest, up-to-date ad mats and other advertising materials from many major propane appliance manufacturers.
We wanted to move into a different area, which is billboard advertising. We'd never done it before. The agency was recommending it. Like, well, I don't know. You can flip through there and look at the pros and cons of different things. Should we use radio? Should we use direct mail? And it's a definite help, no matter where along the scale you are.
Let's recap a moment. It's important to budget and plan your advertising, because otherwise, sometimes forgotten or misdirected. Next, knowing your audience helps you to know what and how you should be advertising. And you get those answers through research. Selecting your media is the next step. The NLPGA Advertising Manual is an excellent guide to help you determine which advertising media will reach your audience the best. Figure out what purpose you want to accomplish with your advertising. Then, don't forget to be creative. Creativity helps your advertising break through the tune-out barrier. And remember, repetition. Repeat your message often, and your audience will more likely remember it. If you follow the basics, get good advice, and use your NLPGA advertising manual, chances are you'll be making a profitable return on your advertising investments in no time. And that's what it really means to have advertising working for you, doesn't it?
Advertising is an investment. And maybe that's a mistake a lot of dealers make. They think it's an expense. It's by no means an expense, it's an investment.
We have seen our sales increase. We've seen our customer traffic increase. We've seen our inquiries increase. And how can you help but be happy about that? We know people are listening to our ads. We know people have seen our ads, and that's what it's all about. And they are buying what we want them to in our ads. So it's worked very well for us.
And since we instituted a budgeted, planned advertising program, our sales of appliances and heating equipment and other miscellaneous LP gas equipment has increased every year.
A lot of times the local media people are not trained media people. I'm looking at it from a very small town situation, and a lot of them are not trained salespeople, so they don't have the experience in what you want to do. They aren't as well versed in your business. So you can't say, well, they're media people, they should know everything. You have to be in control. You have to know what you are trying to get across and make them present that message in the manner you want, and not necessarily always how they think it ought to be. And there's some very persuasive people out there. But you know your customers, you know your business, and you should be the one to be in charge of the whole thing.
Here's the copy for our radio spot. Now, after you've produced it, I want to approve it before it goes on the air. Also, I've outlined the schedule and time periods that we want it to be on, and I want you to give me a package price on this buy, if at all possible.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
No.
Good. We'll see you Thursday then.